Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out for a few. My name's Rich, and normally what we're doing on channel is talking about building our small drone businesses, doing mapping and modeling, doing construction progression reporting, and more. Now, what you're looking at on screen right now is something called WebODM, and that is Open Drone Mapping. It's an open source drone mapping application that I tried out a couple of years ago. I was looking for cheaper solutions to doing two-dimensional and three-dimensional modeling. So I'd taken a look at ODM over 2 years ago, and then I revisited it again just last year. So if you look on my channel and look up WebODM, you're going to find two previous videos that are really dated. Now, today I'm doing a new video because a little over a week ago, one of the folks on my Patreon channel had started experimenting with WebODM again, which got my curiosity up, of course. Now, previously, when I tried out WebODM, I had run into some problems. One being an underpowered iMac. That's what we're recording this on right now. And we also had a Windows system that I had set up WebODM on, but I was having some errors and some issues. And one of the big things that I did know was that WebODM does prefer, I can talk today, WebODM prefers systems with more RAM for sure. But as it turns out, with a few suggestions from readers over the years, I went back in and took a look at a couple things and tweaked a few things. And that's part of what you're seeing on screen now was that I'm actually having some success, actually more than just some success with WebODM. And WebODM is a cost-effective solution if you have a decent platform to work on. Now we're going to leave this screen and we're going to hop over to WebODM's actual website just so that you can take a look here real quick. So what's this all about? Well, WebODM is an open source drone mapping application. And by open source, that does mean that it comes in at a reasonable cost. As a matter of fact, the cost can be $0 to you. I'm going to go over to the download screen here really quick, and we will take a look. There we go. So you can do a manual installation because WebODM is an open source software. If you're a tech user and you don't mind getting your hands dirty, you can go to GitHub, get a copy of the source code, and follow the README. So this really is truly, honestly, a free application for you that does do a good job of the mapping and modeling. Now, when I've tested it before, I tested it with small sets. I did get it to work with some things, but I didn't have enough RAM. And that's part of the bottom line, but there was another way around it that I've recently learned a lot more about. And now WebODM is running very well on an old 2017 iMac that's only got 8 gigs of RAM. Now, if you don't want to do the manual install, you can do the WebODM installer. And this is something that you can actually purchase. So instead of having to, get your hands dirty, as they said, you can download an installer for Windows, Mac. This does run on Linux as well. And as you can see here, for Windows or for Mac, you can buy it and it's $57. Now, what comes in the package is the WebODM Manager and another item that's called Docker Desktop. Now, Docker Desktop's basically setting up a virtual machine or a virtual container for you, and you can make some tweaks to it to allow you to process more. So the big problem that I had with this 2 years ago and 1 year ago, it was a little glitchy for me, and it's probably the fault of my system that I'm utilizing and not the fault of the application. But so I've recommended to people before if they did want to try doing mapping and modeling with their drones, that they could look into WebODM, but I hadn't dug into it enough. Well, I'm here to tell you today, I've dug into it massively over the past couple days, and the results are actually really fantastic. The results are on par with some of the models that I've run on Metashape. And also, now that I've learned how to tweak things a little bit, I've been able to do some of my larger models, including one with 335 images, which we'll take a look at again in just a couple of moments. But so finally taking a little time, I didn't have any other major projects going on. I took the time to play with this and learn about it a little more. And from what I've found here, I think this is a great starting solution for other drone operators who are interested in doing modeling and mapping. So I'd say it's worth checking out. Pop over to opendronemap.org. No referral fees or anything from me here. I just want to share this with folks because we know some of the other applications can get, well, really expensive. And if the worst case scenario here is that you're spending $57 for an application that can do what you need it to do and more, then wow, 57 bucks, what a worthwhile investment. So there's a lot of information on Open Drone Maps website, so you can go through and read there. The other reason why I just started playing with this again last week was because the Mac installers now work with the M1 chip. So that caught my attention. And I decided, let's try this out again. So I still had the download links. By the way, once you get the download links, they're yours. There's no upgrade fees or anything. So if you're trying this out, um, this is going to be yours for however long you're working on doing mapping and modeling. So once again, $57 for each one. I had the old links from several years ago when I first downloaded this, and sure enough, I got everything set up well. So the problems I had the other year had to do with not enough memory, so RAM issues, and also on the Windows machine that I installed this on, I had some problems with the Docker. So the Docker desktop, which is running in the background for us and is what creates our containers for us, I had some problems on Windows with it. So I kind of walked away from it because I had other solutions as well. But taking a look at this again now for our current subscribers and also for folks who are over on our Teachable account and over on Udemy, we're going to be doing some updates on low-cost entry-level software that can get you going in mapping and modeling. And specifically, we're going to be diving much deeper into WebODM, which I've been doing for many days now and having a lot of fun with it. Let's close this window down. And so this is actually the WebODM interface. So it is web browser based, so it's actually running off of my Google Chrome. And I'm just going to hit the dashboard here really quick. Now, behind the scenes, what we don't see running on here is actually the Docker desktop. I'm going to click that really quick. So this is what creates our containers for running the WebODM application. Now, the problems that I had several years ago on an older iMac was that I didn't have a lot of RAM. But one thing that I didn't know was that in the Docker desktop, I could come in and change my resources. So several days ago, when I decided to start playing with this again, I did a little additional research for myself and found out that in Docker, we can change the resources. I'm not going to change them right now because that will blow the installation that I have going on for the moment. So right now, this is a quad core system. So I'm using 2 out of the 4 CPUs basically. For the memory, I've got 8 gigs of RAM on the computer, and I decided to put the memory to 4 gigs. We could bump it up to 6 if we wanted to. We've also got 4 gigs of swap space. And then finally, for our disk image area, I set the disk size to 32 gigabytes. Now, from what I read from comments from folks on my old videos, and while I was searching around the net, I think one of the bigger problems that I was running into was that my disk image size was actually a little too small. So when you're thinking about running WebODM, the more RAM you have, the better. But also in Docker, you can tweak things a little bit to get a little more out of it. Now, for system recommendations, the folks at WebODM say you need a minimum of 4 gigs of RAM. And with 4 gigs of RAM, you're only going to be able to do maybe models of 100 images or so, somewhere in there. So I was having some allocation issues, and some of the models that I was running were failing. And so I was getting different failure codes, and that's why I moved on from it, because I had other work to do other than just experiment with WebODM long term. So what I found in my research in the last week was setting this up this way. So I'm doing only 2 CPUs and 4 gigs of RAM right now because we're also recording this video together on the same system. So I've got OBS running in the background right now too. And with that in mind, I'm asking this older system to take on a lot of tasks. So I did drop my resources down a little bit, but it still ran my larger model. Now, this is not a tutorial on WebODM, but I will start putting together some tutorials in WebODM. Now that I've got this worked out for me, I can share that with you, and you can get started as well with a really low-cost solution for learning about doing your two-dimensional and three-dimensional modeling with drones. So we're just going to click back onto the web browser. So just playing around in the past couple of days, I've blanked out my containers a couple of times. But what I wanted to show you, I ran a couple of tests here. And these are tests on old data sets that you've probably seen on this channel before if you've been a channel member for long. Sky Ranch is one of the projects that we're still not done with. We're probably going to be doing one or two more flights for them as the ranch is finally finishing up. But I'm just going under the tasks here because we're going to take a look at it. So by the way, we're looking at the dashboard. These are the projects I have. Up in the right-hand corner, I can add a new project. I could select images and ground control points for the project, and then we can run it. And once the project has been run, you're going to have something like this on your dashboard. So I called this the Sky Ranch High End because I went with the higher end resolution. And then I'm going to click on Sky Ranch Roam here. So what we're seeing, once we've opened this up, 335 images were used, and it took a total of 59 minutes and 28 seconds to process the model. That's not bad. Actually, doing a similar sized model in Metashape usually takes me longer on this same system. So, there we go. This is competitive with at least the output times of some of the other modeling applications we use here. Now, once the model has been run, we have several different features in here. We can edit this. We can go look at the map. We can go look at the 3D model. We can restart the entire thing. So what I'd like to do first is go over and take a view of that map. And that's where we started out earlier when you first came into this video. Now I can see the area. It's got a little outline around it here. And this is where our model was created. And what I'm going to do is go over to the right-hand side. We're going to get rid of the base maps just so that you can see the final rendering here. And I'm just going to zoom on in. Now, this is a 40-acre property. We flew only 20 of the 40 acres because the northern part didn't have anything going on for the ranch build-out. Now, at the moment, things are still resolving here for us, so it's just coming in. And remember, I don't have all of my memory and swap space allocated to just this, so it took a little, just a few moments to actually fill things in. So this is actually a very nice orthomosaic model. I've tested this, I've output the model, and I've compared it against one of my Metashape models from the same exact data set. And I have to say, they're nearly identical as far as when you're zoomed out, taking a look at it, the quality looks just about the same. Now, in addition to doing our ortho photo, we can do a plant health setup. And so here we go with surface model. I'm going to go over to the surface model really quickly. And this is going to give us a digital elevation model, basically. And this one came out very nicely as well. So we can actually see the high points and low points. And if we'd like to, we can actually go in here under the layers, and I can change the color scheme here. So I'm going to go to the jet color scheme. We're just waiting for that to fill in. But I do like the more pronounced colors showing the differences in elevation. So this is one of many things that we can do with this. And we will get into a longer tutorial down the road. So this is just the primer for it to let everybody on this channel know, hey, we're going to take a closer look at WebODM again. Now down in the lower right-hand corner, I also do have a view of the 3D model. And when we first pull the 3D model in, it gives us the dense point cloud. Now we've got a lot of tools on the left-hand side here. So we can actually show the cameras. So you see all those little dots floating in the air there? We can actually show all the cameras and the camera angles to show how this 3D model came together, what type of flight we did with it. And we can also do a textured model. So we actually put the textures of the JPEGs on over that dense point cloud. And we'll get deeper into that down the road as I start continuing on this series, because we're gonna really put WebODM through its paces. And if we can, we're going to be running it on this iMac 2017, and hopefully it won't slow down the video too much. Now, we do have a lot of tools uh, at our disposal here. So appearance, I'm going to close that one up. We can see that we have measurement tools here, clipping tools here, navigation tools. We do have some scene tools as well, and then some filters as well. Like I said, this is not a full-on tutorial. This is just an introduction to a new topic that's going to be here on channel about WebODM. All right, I'm going to go back to the dashboard as we're getting ready to wrap this one up. And so what I can tell you when I'm not recording on OBS and we have the system freed up just to work on WebODM, I'm finding that the processing time is faster on it. I'm finding that the results of the three-dimensional models and the two-dimensional models are on par with other applications that I use and have used. And so this is saying to me that there's more possibilities and more potential for WebODM without having to build a brand new system and loading it up with a ton of RAM. Of course, if you can afford to build a brand new system today, why not have at it? And CPUs, GPUs, RAM, and storage space. If you can build a nice modeling box, that's fantastic. If you don't have the funds for that, but you still have a system that has about 8 gigs of RAM, has a fair amount of storage space, and has multiple cores, multiple CPUs, that's going to be great, and you're going to be able to do more with it. Now, one of the other things before we wrap this up, I just wanted to show you the diagnostic window. So we do have the Docker desktop still running in the background, so it's allocating resources still, and it's allocating resources being ready for us to do another model if we want to. Diagnostic information gives us a good idea. Do we have enough storage for the Docker container? Do we have enough memory for actually running the application? So right now we're still pretty good, but we are coming up against a storage space issue, and I can go in and change the container later. So we will be doing additional videos in the near future, going through the initial setup, setting up the container, and then probably rerunning the same models that we were showing here just for consistency so that we're familiar with the models and we're not playing around with viewing other ones. So just to show you, I'm going to show you also one of our other job sites. And this image set was only 98 images. It was a 5-acre property. It took 14 minutes to run this on the higher end resolution. And I'm going to go ahead and click on here. We're going to take a quick look at that two-dimensional map. And you can see the map filling in over the Google map. And this kind of gives us a really good idea of, how well are we aligned. You can see in the upper left corner here that the alignment is off by just a little bit. It's not massively off. And this model is comparable to some of the models that I've run of this site with Metashape as well. So finally, before we go running away here, I would like to go back to the dashboard and show you this one more time, because once we've generated something here, we can download all of the assets. So we can download our two-dimensional and three-dimensional models. We can download that digital elevation model and more. Once we're done processing this under download assets, here is what we can actually offload. So, and actually, let's slide this over because I might be blocking some of the screen here with the image of me down in the lower left corner. But so when we download assets here, we can download the orthophoto, a surface model, point cloud, a textured model, camera parameters, camera shots, a quality report, and there's one other thing hidden underneath my little bar here. So let's close that. Or we can download all assets. That's the last thing. From the View Map window and from the View 3D Model window, we can also download assets one at a time, or we can download those all together as well. All right, everyone. So this is a big high-level overview, and we will be talking more about WebODM in the coming days and weeks as we experiment also with one new model. So, okay, there's going to be one additional model from a flight that we were supposed to be doing this weekend, but it looks like we're going to have to do that flight next week. All right, everybody, I hope that this has gotten your interest and excitement, that there is a lower cost solution if you're just getting into drone mapping and modeling. And we're going to take a deep dive into this and really take a look at what it's capable of rendering, and how that can factor into your small drone business if you're just starting to build on doing mapping and modeling as well. All right, everyone, we'll see you in an upcoming video. I hope you have a great start to the week, and I hope your new year is starting out well for you. See you again soon.